Well, this is Keith's 2005 LJ Rubicon model. And at first glance, you're gonna think, what are we doing a walk around on this Jeep for? It looks almost stock, maybe just a little bit bigger tires. But I think this one is really important to talk about because we did a ton of work to this Jeep, but we did the work in the direction of what Keith needs. So not everybody needs 40-inch tires, stretched wheelbase, long arm 1-tons in their Jeep. So at WFO, we've been building Jeeps, and we've been building this TJ/LJ package for 23 years. And each job is different and unique, and we build it to what the customer wants. And in this case, Keith was very specific in what he was looking for. And, you know, we spent a lot of money, did a lot of stuff on this thing. You may not see it. But every dollar we spent was in a direction that we knew Keith would appreciate and use and make it better for him. So basically, we'll start with, this is a 2005 LJ. I think it has 160,000 miles on it. He's had it for 5 or 6 years. And Keith is a killer of every animal. He enjoys hunting deer, moose, elk, and then he has a boat. He goes out in the bay. He's getting crab, tuna. He loves having toys that allow him to hunt and fish and, you know, have good food, live off the land. And so when he bought this LJ years and years ago, I had him get the LJ so it could have a longer wheelbase because I knew he was going to be traveling long distances. He wanted it comfortable to drive. We went with an automatic, maybe easier to shoot out of it when the top's off, you know. Some of the things we did when we chose the LJ years and years ago just really worked for him. The Rubicon model with the low gears for going slow, lockers front and rear. And then as he had it for a while, he decided, okay, it's time to put some money into it. So last year we focused on suspension, tires, wheels, and that kind of stuff. And this is where it gets really important. So for the TJ/LJ package, for years and years and years, we were putting the Rubicon Express long arm kit on these. We don't believe that a TJ or an LJ should ever have a short arm kit, even with 3.5 inches of lift. Well, when Rubicon Express went out of business, Metal Cloak came about. And Metal Cloak took what Rubicon Express had on their long arm kit, which, if you look underneath here, is a modular center belly pan that the skid plate actually drops out. So you can leave the links hooked up, drop the skid plate, service your transmission transfer case. So Metal Cloak took what Rubicon Express had and redesigned it and absolutely knocked it out of the park. It's even better. So you can see the side of the crossmember here has an angle to it for more clearance. The links are kind of tucked up and high. And then here's your links, 2-inch quarter wall lower links. So the rear is a true 4-link. So you can see the upper link bar, the lower link bar. These things are pretty much parallel and flat with the ground. And the lower links even have some angle cut into them. So still tons of clearance, but more than double the length of the factory control arms in the rear. And then in the front, they did something that's been done for years and people talk bad about, but this is once again 2-inch quarter wall links, has their Duraflex joints in it, and it has a radius arm going to the top of the axle there. So when we work around to the other side here, this side radius arm has what they call their lock and load upper control arm that's adjustable, and you can tighten or loosen that control arm for more suspension flex. So basically, people badmouth the radius arm kits in these TJs and LJs because radius arms inherently don't flex as well as a 3-link or a true 4-link. Well, I can tell you, in 23 years of building this package, the radius arm works really well on this setup. And Metal Cloak's radius arm is even better than the Rubicon Express radius arm. Flex is good, drives good. The Duraflex bushings are amazing. So you get that way better ride and drive on the highway. So believe it or not, 33s and a short arm kit, this thing was bouncy, rough, all over the road. These are 35s, long arm kit, it drives like a Cadillac. You know, the long arm kit is not just for off-road use, but it makes it drive better on the highway as well. And people don't really understand that. So when you're looking at this thing, we just looked at the control arms, the long arm, and you think, man, it's not lifted very high. What lift kit is that? Well, this is where it gets a little weird. So Metal Cloak only sells a 4.5 and a 5.5. They don't sell a 3.5. But we wanted this thing nice and low to the ground so Keith could get in and out while he's hunting. He's not going to go to the Rubicon. Maybe if I convince him to go on the Jeepers Jamboree. But it's more just for getting in and out and a good ride. So we went with 3.5-inch Metal Cloak true dual rate coils, and you can hardly see them up in there. And kind of home built the kit, I guess you could say. We did the long arm upgrade, did the 3.5-inch coils, did their sway bar quick disconnect so that as soon as he goes hunting, he'll disconnect those and be out on the trails. And then if you look back here in the back, it's got the Rock Sport red shocks. And people badmouth those as well because they don't look cool, or they're not a Fox, or they're not the Rock Sport black. But I can tell you what, that on this platform, in this LJ, and this is what I have on my daughter's JL actually, the Rock Sports really complement the long arm, the ride, even the tires that we got going on. So custom built 3.5-inch long arm. And in order to do that, if you take a look just right here, you can see that track bar is just single shear bolt Heim joint. That is the track bar from Metal Cloak for their 3.5-inch standard lift kit. So we did the long arms with the 3.5-inch track bar, and that's what allowed us to keep it low. So tires and wheels, 35-inch BFG KM3s on the Icon Rebound Pros. Once again, guy travels a lot on the highway, may flat tow it, drive long distances. We wanted a bead lock that was really good, highway friendly, wasn't going to lose bolts. So the Rebound Pros have these O-ring bolts right here that just push in, keep the tire from coming off the bead. So that Icon Rebound Pro was the perfect answer to what wheel to go as well. So stock fenders, stock flares, 35s, 3.5-inch. It just tucks them up inside, rubs a tiny bit. Had to have onboard air when he's out there airing down for all the trails and roads. So underneath here, right there, ARB air compressor on the top of the motor. Plug in right there to air up your tires, quick and easy. That way it forces you to have the hood up so you got some cooler air when you're airing up. So we wanted to make sure it didn't take up his cargo space because he always has the back completely full of gear or guys with guns. When it comes to the front, you know, there's bumpers that we really like on the TJLJs, and that's the Hansen bumpers. And for some reason, it takes forever to get any product from them. I think we waited like 11 months for these, but once we got them, it complements the Jeep. So Hansen front bumper with the single bar. We have the VR10S Warren winch, rigid pod lights right here, and simple clean in the front of the Jeep. Now, here I am talking about this LJ. It's all Metal Cloak underneath. There's only 3 things WFO on this Jeep, and one of those things is this right here. So it has our WFO diff covers, front and rear, because we put 488 gears in it with the factory air lockers. I went ahead and put our heavy covers on. And then this right here is also our 1.25 DOM tie rod. And then this is our gusset for the factory drag link. Because it's only a 3.5 and this low to the ground, still has factory pitman arm, factory drag link, factory steering stabilizer, and 488 gears. So as far as WFO parts, you got a tie rod, 2 diff covers, and changing the gears. But we believe that that's what this Jeep needed. So take a look inside the driver's door there. So one of the other things that we had going on is that Keith, he's a hunter. He likes to be out there on the trails, and he wanted to use his Onyx app, but have it on the dash. So we had the plastic of the dash replaced. We did a double DIN Sony stereo so that he can have his Onyx and his CarPlay right there on the dash. Obviously put the speaker in. And then something else kind of unique. So right here is a Switch Pro. So this has his rock lights, which this thing has rigid rock lights all underneath, so that when you're out hunting, you turn your headlights off and rock lights on and kind of cruise around for the kill, if you know what I mean. But the Switch Pro up here, we also hooked up to his front and rear factory air lockers. So basically in high range, 2-wheel drive, low range, whenever, he can use the front locker or the rear locker individually without having it in 4-low and going through the factory locker switch. So that was really important because he's a lot of times in high range in the snow and dirt roads and needing the locker to work. One other thing, I'm going to have you walk around to this side of the Jeep. We'll switch. So Keith wanted to have some good sound, and so we went ahead and had an amplifier installed right here, mounted it to the side of the Jeep so it's not in the way of any passengers or carrying any parts, not under the seat where it can get wet. So added the amp, and then we actually redid the sub inside the factory center console. So with that new double din, it's got new speakers up front, new sub amplifier, and then new overhead speakers. And you can see we replaced the lights. Auburn Cartoons in Auburn replaced the lights with LED lights and actually did LEDs in the kick panels as well. And then while we're at it, right here along the top, you can see we replaced the top bolts with those tie downs. So when he takes the hard top off, you can strap in all your gear and excess dead animals in the back once the seat's folded up, you know. So to complement the Metal Cloak long arm, we went ahead and did a 1350 CV in the rear. And then as you work your way around to the back, once again, that long wait time, we went with a Hansen rear bumper. I really like the Hansen bumper for a couple reasons, but it's a pretty quick swing out, open and close. And really the reason we picked the Hansen bumper is the bumper itself is super clean, has good lines, has a trailer hitch in it because he tows a little trailer, a little boat, once again to go kill more things. But here's the reason why we picked it out for Keith. So this is what Hansen calls their U platform. And instead of being way up high here, it's halfway down in the middle of the tire. And being halfway down, he can quarter up a moose or a deer or any animal he kills, hike it out of the mountains, stack it here on the back of the Jeep, strap it down. He's usually got antlers and heads and meat and everything else dripping off of this once a year when he goes out to Montana and Wyoming. But you can put your animals and your stuff right on here. You can also put an ice chest where it's easy to reach and get to. We put a rigid light right here, so if you're working on the back, cutting animal flesh up in the middle of the night, you can cut it right here. And then underneath, another light that's hooked up to his backup lights. So when he puts it in reverse, you can see at night. So everything on this Jeep, as simple as easy as it is, was 100% done specifically to fit the needs of Keith. And the Metal Cloak long arm with the belly pan, the heavy duty links, changing the lockers over to the Switch Pros, like every little detail that we did was really what made this Jeep shine. And not every Jeep has to have 40s and 1-tons, and this Jeep is such a pleasure to drive, comfortable, handles good, rides good, air down the tires, the other tires back up, all the lockers, the Rubicon transfer case. It really has everything for that standard outdoor enthusiast. So hopefully you enjoy this, and thank you for the good products, Metal Cloak.